So here we are. We're in this mini-series in Acts. We're in chapter 21. I want to talk about the will of God. Now, it's interesting because it's a subject, really, it's of great interest. But let's keep something in mind. God's ideal world is found in the Bible. So, section by section, text by text, chapter by chapter, sermon by sermon, hey, week by week, you get the will of God. I know we're looking for it, right? We're like, well, wonder what the will of God is. Did you miss last week's sermon? It might have been that's what you were looking for. Because I'm just telling you, God's ideal world is found from Genesis 1:1 to Revelation 22. So, think about that. So week by week, we as believers progressively encounter God's will, and then we adapt our life to that particular will of God for that week, if you will, and you become more like Jesus. Now you have to ask yourself, what's driving you? Now everybody's driven by something. God is driven by something. Romans 8:29, for those whom he foreknow, he also predestined to be conformed to the image of his Son. So God is driven by making you more like Jesus. So you think about that. So, week by week, sermon by sermon, text by text, habits are changed, character is built, and the image of Christ is formed in you. No wonder Jonathan Edwards said the church is not an afterthought in the otherwise individualistic plans of God, but is the focused domain where God's promises, presence, and purpose are to be discovered. The point being that while many believers tend to, we try to think about the big picture. And we can't figure out the various pieces along the way, and so we're puzzled, we're confused. And let me just say, confusion is normal. You're not going to go through life and not be confused. Now, we left off last week talking about how well we know ourselves. The truth is, we don't know ourselves that well. I mean, do you know deep down what you really want? Have you ever gone out to eat, you're like, yeah, it just didn't satisfy. Or you went to a concert. You know what? It was so good. It's just, I don't know, it just didn't seem to. I thought it'd be nice to take a break, and that just didn't do it. And then, of course, your desires change over the years. I still remember one time I wanted a tractor. I don't want a tractor anymore. Don't even need a tractor. So what if what you desire today is gone tomorrow? What I'm saying is you just don't know deep down what you want, which means you could be working on the wrong puzzle today. Now think about that. Well, this is what I want. So you go to work on that puzzle, and God's like, yeah, that's not what you want. We're not doing that puzzle. I've got a puzzle. So then we're confused because, now, I asked last week if you had read Acts 21. Now this is hugely important because Paul is on his way to Jerusalem, and we're going to get there, talk about it. We'll see how far we get today. People told him, no, Paul, don't go. That's not the will of God. We don't want you to go. Paul went anyway. Now, all I'm going to ask you at this point, did he just make up his mind and he's like, I'm going no matter what? Because that's what we do all the time. Now, we're going to get there, but I just want you to keep that in mind, that you could be working on the wrong puzzle. And I do know this. You have to spend time with Jesus. Colossians 1:28, Paul said, him we proclaim, warning everyone and teaching everyone with all wisdom, that we may present everyone mature in Christ. have water. The point being, the more we become like Jesus, the more we become our true selves. Did you get that? That's huge. No wonder we're so unfinished. The title of the series we're doing in the book of Acts. And yet week by week, text by text, sermon by sermon, we become more finished. If I asked you right now to take out a half sheet of paper, that's what they always told us in college. Did teachers ever tell you that? Take out a half sheet of paper. And write down, I have one question. And you have 5 seconds. So take out your imaginary half sheet of paper. And you have 5 seconds. I want you to write down what you really want. Now, depending on where you're at, I need a new vehicle. I need new clothes, more money, new job. And if Mike Collins was here, this is for him, a trip to Bora Bora. We could all chip in and give him $4.72 toward his trip. But anyway. Well, let's go further. Let's go deeper into the song. I'm trying to make it. What do you want? So in Mark 10:51, a blind guy comes to Jesus, Bartimaeus. Called out to Jesus, and Jesus said, what do you want? Now think about this. If you're blind, that's the one thing, that's all you can think about. He wanted his sight. And that's why I say that sometimes the circumstances of life dictate what you really want today. So in this case, it's obvious. In yours, it's not so obvious. But how would you answer that question if Jesus asked you today, what do you want? And I talked last week about how Philip and Andrew came to Jesus one day. They were disciples of John the Baptist. They looked at Jesus and they said, oh, look, there's the Lamb of God. And then Jesus turned to them and said, what are you seeking? Smart guys. They didn't answer. Because you know, they knew. They didn't know. They told Jesus, where you staying? Basically what they're saying is, if we could spend time with you, I think we can answer the question. But Jesus wants to know what's driving your life. So let's talk about identity for a moment. And I know at this point you're wondering, are we ever going to get to Acts 21? And we are, because the Apostle Paul knew that he was called to be an apostle. He was straight on his identity. So, 4 areas that can derail us. I'm afraid to put my water down. Hey, parenting. Most everybody here has had kids, or has kids. And nobody is having a kid, I don't think, right now, in here, but not here today. So, parenting. Now, think about parenting. So many parents get their identity from their parents. Now, if that's where you get your identity, you will be miserable. Yeah, you will. Because guess what? Guess what kids are? Kids are sinners. They are. And you know, listen, it starts like at age 2. I learned this from my brother Mark. So my dad's watching TV. my brother Mark, 2 years old, goes up and turns TV on. And then this is the day we had push buttons. All right, and you could just push it all. All right. And we didn't have remotes. I know some of y'all never seen a TV like that. I apologize. It was in the 60s, okay? That's what we had. So my dad fussed at it. He went up there and did it again because he thought it was cute. See, he was already at the age of 2 rebelling against my dad's authority. Well, then my dad tapped his hand with, I don't know, something like a paddle, not really a paddle, I don't know what it was. And he did it just enough to where it hurt, and my brother never did it again. But at 2 years old, they're already challenging your authority. Then when they get to middle school, they push against your wisdom. When you have teenagers, middle schoolers, that's when you are the most unwise. That's why teenagers should run for president, because they can solve all the world's problems. I mean, they know, right? They know. And then, of course, when they're teenagers, too, they push against your guidance. Now, some of you will be fortunate enough to have very compliant children. We have 5. We thought out of 5 we would get 1. We didn't. We didn't. I don't know what the secret is. I really don't. But I've often wondered, and I've always often envied people who had 1 compliant child. Hey, could you go take the trash out? I'm right on. Hey, could you go make your bed? I got it. I'm going right now. I mean, it's just incredible. You know, it's like, wow, I like to follow them around. I can see how they parent. That is so cool. No, it's about the child. Look, we're out here, so I got to take advantage of the problem. You see the grass over here to your left? Oh, well, you don't see grass, right? It's not green. Look to your right. You see that green grass? Charles will testify. We did it together. We put the same amount of lime over there as we put over there. We put the same amount of fertilizer there as we put over there. We put the same amount of grass seed as we put over there. We put the same amount of straw over there as we put over there. So, we're on the same piece of property, 200 feet apart. How come the grass is so different? Soil, over there, topsoil everywhere. Over here, very, very little topsoil on top. 2 kids, same input. Are you with me? But 2 very different personalities. All I'm saying is, if your identity is in your parenting, you will be this way. All right, let's talk about work. If your identity is in your job, what happens when you're retired or get disabled or become 80 years old? Are you then nobody? I mean, sports players deal with this all the time because they have a short lifespan in sports. Even in college, it becomes a major adjustment for people in sports. It's like they don't know who they are anymore. Okay, work. Let's go on to success. Now, if it's success, and everybody here has got some kind of probably definition of success. So what happens if you come up short? Right? It's so hard to be perfect. And then what if your definition's wrong? If you're a parent, your list is wrong. Well, my kid needs to make the soccer team. Then my kid needs to make the travel team. And then my kid needs to score a goal every game. I mean, what's your goal? I'm just saying. So success, academic achievement, musical ability. Hey, what about social likability? People like your kids? They ought to. I mean, it's a good goal. All I'm saying is, what are the markers? It gets complicated. And then where did we get our values that gave us those goals? And it almost sounds wrong to say that a parent needs to take their eyes off their goals, because at the end of the day, you can only control the input. You can't control the outcome. Just can't do it. Can't do it. Wisdom, guidance, ideas, suggestions, prayer, direction, warnings, all those things go right over your child's head a lot of times. They really do. Well, one more. Where you get your identity. Maybe it's in your reputation. It's what others think of you. Now, everybody at some point will struggle trying to please somebody. I have learned over the years that if I try to please you, it doesn't do any good. I mean, it just doesn't. I mean, you can say, hey, Mike, could you give me a ride down to Richmond this afternoon? And I can't do it. But I'm like, well, man, if I don't do it, he's going to be put out with me, so I guess I better take him for a ride. And probably 6 months from now, you won't even be around. And it's like, I mean, I thought it was, I mean, I kind of did it because I like to please people, like a lot of people do. But I also did it because I thought it'd be nice, and then but if I did it only to please you, without the proper motive, it just doesn't work out. And honestly, I'm so easy to take advantage of. Yeah, I am. It's beautiful. But I'm getting wiser, so don't be trying to eat anything. All right. Now, let me go back. If you recall, we said that the Apostle Paul, on his trip to Jerusalem, spent a day alone. He said, y'all take the ship. I'm walking. He wanted to spend time alone. I mean, this is a big deal going to Jerusalem. It is. But solitude, as I said last week, is very, very unnerving. All right, so let's get a lay of the land. We've got a story about Paul going to Jerusalem. And on the way, he's going to encounter several things, and people are going to speak to him through the Spirit. Are you with me? Now, I want you to understand. There will be people say, well, you know, I was praying last night, and God really laid this on my heart, and I really don't think you should do what you want to do. Okay, Paul had to deal with this. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. We're going to see someone like Paul. Maybe he's being bullheaded. He's made up his mind. Nobody's going to change it. I would ask for a show of hands. Anybody here been bullheaded before? Y'all don't look that kind of crowd. Just move on. And then some of us are going to see unfortunate outcomes. And here's what we do. If you have an unfortunate outcome, you know what you're going to say? Must not have been God's will. Now, we're going to remind you, we're going to get there. Paul is going to be arrested. All right? Now, if that's your criteria, then you're going to say, well, Paul was out of the will of God. That's your criteria. And then we're going to see multiple people giving them their advice. Now, what do you do when lots of people give you the same advice? Probably not this one. Here's what I know. Like parenting, doing the will of God will come with unattractive duties. Changing diapers at 2 a.m. Cleaning up row up at 1 a.m. All right, that's part of parenting, is it not? Exhaustion. And being unappreciated. Add in days of frustration and irritation. And let me remind you, you could be right in the middle of Acts 21. You got a Bible? We're going to read there now. I think it's in your notes. All right, here we go. So when he had departed from them, now when it says that he parted, this was an emotional party. And set sail. And we came by a straight course to Kos. The next day to Rhodes, which is an island, and from there to Patara. Having found a ship crossing to Phoenicia, we went aboard and set sail. We've come in sight of Cyprus, leaving it on the left. We sailed to Syria and landed at Tyre. For there the ship was to unload its cargo. So we sought out some disciples, and we stayed there 7 days. Now, and through the Spirit, they were telling Paul not to go to Jerusalem. When our days were ended, we departed, went on our journey, and they all, with their wives, children, accompanied us still outside the city. And then we knelt down on the beach and prayed and said goodbye. Got on the ship, and they went home. So everything's going like clockwork. You know, on the ship, he's on schedule to get back to Jerusalem. And here's another thing: what we do, we think if everything's going like clockwork, it must be God's will. I'm not saying it's not. I'm just saying that's our typical thing. So, verse 7, we finished the voyage from Tyre. We arrived at Ptolemais. We greeted some more believers. The next day we departed, came to Caesarea. We stayed with Philip. He was one of the 7, back in Acts chapter 6. And then he had 4 unmarried daughters who prophesied. Then a prophet came down named Agabus. And he took Paul's belt, bound his own feet, and he said, Paul, this is what's waiting for you in Jerusalem. The Holy Spirit told us. The Jews at Jerusalem will find the man who owns this belt and deliver him into the hands of the Gentiles. And when we heard this, we and the people there urged him not to go to Jerusalem. Paul answered, what are you doing? Weeping and breaking my heart. I mean, this is getting emotional. I mean, it hurts when somebody you know and love is going down what you perceive to be the wrong path. Paul says, look, I'm not only ready to be in prison, I'm ready to die. Man, you know, you got to do better than that. And since he would not be persuaded, they gave up. Said, okay, let the will of the Lord be done. Now, here's what we know. Many times, we think we know what's best. As my kids have gotten older, a lot of times, my ideas are like this. Here's an idea or a suggestion. Think about it. You don't have to take it. I mean, you can do what you want to do.
Y'all heard it. God is talking to you.
That's right. That's the Holy Spirit right there, right? I thought a bear was coming out of the woods or something. All right. And you know, us, like our kids, we can be bullheaded, just plow ahead. All right, chapter 21, verse 17. So we came to Jerusalem. The brothers received us. The following day, we went to see James and the elders and all that. And they greeted and they glorified God because we told them all the things that we had done. But there were some Jews there. They were zealous about the law. And they had the wrong idea about the Apostle Paul. They thought that he had just totally forsaken any of the Jewish teachings, which he had not. And so they said, well, look, why don't you do this? We've got 4 men under a vow. We want you to go with them. Purify yourself along with them. You've been in Gentile territory. And then pay for their expenses, and then they're going to shave their heads because their time is up of their vow. And so Paul said, well, all right, I'll do that. So he took them in the next day, purified himself, went into the temple, and all that. And he's not doing it just to please people. And I'm not going to get into all the arguments and all the details and all the history here because I want to stay focused on the theme of the will of God. Some people will say that Paul compromised here. So we can go a whole lot of different routes, and that's not my deal. But here's what we'll do sometimes. We'll say, well, God's going to have to step in because if God doesn't step in, boy, they're going to really mess up. Okay, so some people say that when the 7 days were almost completed, Paul was arrested. He didn't have to finish all that stuff up, and God saved him from doing the wrong thing. And we can go on and talk about the details, and I don't care to go there. I want to stay focused on the will of God. And you cannot say, if something goes awry, then so-and-so must be out See, the funny thing about the will of God, we don't get it written out script by script, day by day, hour by hour. But we do get it text by text, week by week, sermon by sermon. We get the will of God. And every week we get another opportunity to become more like Jesus. Even today, we've talked about identity. We've talked about some wrong thinking. And we're right now in the middle of a 4-part series. So, right now, I got to leave you hanging. That's it. Leave you hanging. When I want to come back next week, we're going to drill down even deeper. And then on the 4th week, we'll wrap it all up. So part of my goal each week, leave you a little confused, leave you hanging. And if the video turns out, we'll put it online for those who